is Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Bury.
It is always uncomfortable for journalists to report on their own organizations, and tonight it is also unfortunate. A few hours ago, we learned that the young child of an employee at ABC News in New York contracted a form of anthrax after visiting the office with his mother. Luckily, it is the skin type of exposure known as cutaneous anthrax, and the prognosis is excellent. But it has been another day of high anxiety. Earlier, the anthrax scare reached the highest levels of Congress. Powder spilled from an envelope mailed to the Washington office of Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle. The preliminary tests came back positive for anthrax. At this point, public concern appears measured. An ABC News poll out tonight shows only 26% of Americans say the possibility of an anthrax attack worries them a great deal. And a vast majority say they are satisfied with how the government has handled the anthrax situation. On the war front, American planes launched their heaviest raids yet, pounding targets near Kabul and Kandahar. The message may be sinking in. Tuesday's New York Times reports on secret overtures from moderates in the Taliban regime. The newspaper quotes officials in Pakistan as saying moderates would try to negotiate the handover of Osama bin Laden if the United States stopped bombing for 2 or 3 days. We'll have more from the military and diplomatic fronts later in the program, but first the latest on today's anthrax developments from Nightline correspondent John Donvan.
Chris, this morning we learned that anthrax had crossed the threshold of the U.S. Congress. This evening we heard it may also have struck at ABC News in our headquarters in New York City, and that in this case the victim is a child, an infant, the son of an ABC News producer who brought her kids into work 17 days ago on September 28th for just a couple of hours. The next day the child developed a rash and began to get sick. As with all of these cases so far, the circumstances are unclear. New York City authorities tonight were sweeping ABC's offices for evidence, but so far no one has reported getting a letter with powder that might have led to the child's infection with anthrax. Staffers were being interviewed tonight to see if anyone can remember getting any strange mail or if anyone can recall anything else out of the ordinary.
No comment.
The child, whose identity ABC News is keeping private, was at one point in intensive care. But ABC News President David Weston says his condition has turned around.
I emphasize this is cutaneous anthrax. We've all learned more than we ever wanted to know, I suspect, about this disease. But that is, of course, the much less dangerous one, the one that can be treated with antibiotics. My understanding this evening is the child is responding well. The prognosis is excellent. We are, however, of course, taking this very seriously.
Both New York's mayor and police commissioner were present at this news conference. They said that as a precaution tonight, they had sent investigators to all of the major news organizations in New York City to talk to staff there, to test their mailroom areas for anthrax, and to try to find out if any unusual mail had come in. In the case of ABC News, Giuliani said the fact that no one else in the news division has any known symptoms of anthrax so long after the baby symptoms first appeared suggests that no one else at ABC was infected. But the news from Washington this morning showed us that it's not only news organizations being targeted. This was the scene outside the office of Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle, where this morning a staffer opened mail and found what is called a suspicious substance. Authorities put up a quarantine around the office, nobody out or in, while they tested more than 40 staffers and put them on antibiotics.
I'm concerned deeply for my staff, and I feel so badly for each of them. They are innocent people caught up in a matter for which they have nothing to do. I am very, very disappointed and angered. I am confident, however, as I said a moment ago, that because we anticipated something like this, we are able to deal with it as successfully as we are this morning.
The substance in Daschle's office was twice tested on the spot. Twice it tested positive as anthrax, and then some was sent to an Army base for yet a third test.
I'm told there's a 24-hour turnaround for the substance that went up to Fort Detrick, and we hope within 24 hours we'll have a positive indication of what we're dealing with.
As the Senate convened today, this was the Senate chaplain.
Protect the senators and all of us who work with and for them from the insidious threats of bioterrorism. Calm our nerves.
This Senate and this institution will not stop. We will not.
But though it was Daschle himself who later rose and pledged the Senate will not cease its business, something changed at the Capitol today. Guided tours for drop-in visitors, which were curtailed after September 11th, have now stopped completely until further notice. Meanwhile, across the nation, 911 lines were ringing, lots of them false alarms, and some of them out-and-out hoaxes. In Cincinnati, they charged this man with a felony inducing panic for leaving a white powder on his boss's desk. It turned out to be ground glass, a practical joke, apparently, that could mean up to a year and a half behind bars. But they're not all hoaxes. The case of anthrax and our ABC colleagues' little boy is very real. And in Florida, that American media, that mailroom clerk previously reported as only being exposed to anthrax, ABC News learned tonight he has now developed the disease called anthrax. Chris?
John, we also heard earlier about reports of possible anthrax sent to Microsoft executives in Nevada. What do we know about that?
That's the Reno case, which is a good example of how quickly the story can change on this. It was seen as definitely a dangerous spot yesterday. Now the news out of Reno is that the 6 employees who were thought possibly to have been exposed to anthrax have all tested negative, and they've tested the mail itself, whether it actually contained anthrax. 2 times it tested positive, and then it tested negative. So it's being sent off to the CDC to be tested once again. So it's a little bit unclear.
President Bush said today that the United States has no hard evidence linking any of this anthrax to Osama bin Laden. Is there anything at all which does connect these cases?
Not directly to Osama bin Laden, but somewhat to each other. The anthrax letter that was sent to Senator Daschle's office was postmarked Trenton, New Jersey. The letter that was sent to NBC News and discovered last week was also sent to from Trenton, New Jersey, from the same location and on the same date. So call it circumstantial, call it more than that.
And this is all anthrax that was delivered in the mail from that one post office?
From that one post office, and opened and actually resulted at this point in what appeared to be positive cases of anthrax itself.
And from the ABC case, we still don't know?
In the case of ABC, we really don't know if there was mail at all. A letter has not, at this point, turned up, and it's quite possible that that little boy was exposed somewhere else. But the presumption that ABC News is making, because of the connection to NBC News, is that you got to look at ABC News, and so the building in New York is being examined overnight tonight.
John Donovan, thank you very much. Trying to unravel the mystery of anthrax when we come back.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Toyota.
Reinvented Camry. One look, and you're going to want one.
We Americans are going through a tragic time. We all have painful emotions following these hideous events. Here are some ways to get through this time of crisis. Please ask for help if you want it. Avoid repetitive viewing of these terrible images and do something. Donate money, donate blood, or volunteer. For more information, contact your local American Red Cross chapter or visit our website at redcross.org. Together, we can save a life.
Questions about anthrax and where it's coming from, about how to best protect your family, and what may happen next. Tomorrow, watch World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Nobody covers news like ABC 7 Eyewitness News. news. We're in your neighborhood, on your street. We're your eyes, your ears, your voice. From the heart of the city.
Live in Brooklyn, live in the Bronx.
Communities all around.
Long Island.
Westchester, Connecticut, New Jersey. Nobody covers news like ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Nobody.
Hi, I'm Fran Tarkenton. This is the key to getting your new car. Even if you have bad credit or no credit at all, just call 1-800-BAR-NONE. Our friendly operators will complete your application in a matter of minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just one call from the privacy of your home, and you could have your approval package the very next day. It may also include a check for your new car. Even if you've been turned down before, get the car you need and deserve. Call 1-800-BAR-NONE right now.
Joining us from New Orleans, John Clements, professor of microbiology and immunology at Tulane University School of Medicine. John, what struck you tonight when you heard about the case involving the young child whose mother is an employee at ABC News?
Well, Chris, what struck me about this was that there are a lot of things about the epidemiology of anthrax that we clearly do not understand. So it's not clear exactly how this child came into contact with the spores from this bacterium, and it's something that we really need to look carefully into.
We have heard again and again that anthrax is not contagious, yet it might appear from this case that it's relatively easy to contact it and to spread it in the form of human contact.
Well, actually, that's a distinction that we need to make, because contagious means that you can catch the disease from someone else. And clearly, we believe from everything we know about anthrax that that is not the case. What we don't know is how easily one individual can transfer the spores to someone else. And the implication here is that someone made contact with the spores and then made contact with the child, and the child then acquired the spores.
But what you're saying is, if the mother in this case, for example, might have come into contact with the anthrax spores, she could have transmitted it through her skin to the child. We don't know, but that could have happened.
It's theoretically possible. It would be like if you placed your finger in a bowl of sugar and then touched someone else, you may transfer some of the sugar. And so that's a way of transmitting something like a spore from one person to another. It doesn't make it contagious. It just means that you can act as a carrier to place it somewhere else.
What kind of exposure does it take to come down with even cutaneous anthrax? How much anthrax does one have to be exposed to?
You know, there's absolutely no evidence at all to give us any indication of what that dose might be. We don't know enough about the epidemiology of the organism to know what that dose is. We know more, as it turns out, about inhalation anthrax, because we know that requires approximately 10,000 spores deep into the lungs in order to cause that disease.
But cutaneous anthrax, the skin form, may require less?
I think you could absolutely assume that it requires less, because the spores don't have to pass through all the nasal turbinates and all the mucosal secretions that we have in our airways.
This is the first case that we know of in which a child has come down with cutaneous anthrax. What are the particular risks and the particular vulnerabilities for children? And we understand this is a very young child, a toddler.
That's right. Well, we actually don't know. There's nothing in the medical literature, very little in the medical literature, about anthrax in children. So infectious diseases in children are always a greater risk, as they are in the elderly.
And I assume the danger for young children is that they're very curious. They touch everything, and almost everything they touch, especially at the toddler stage, almost everything that they come into contact with goes into their mouth at some point.
Absolutely. And if someone had contacted an envelope, for instance, that contained the spores, and then the child had sucked on that person's fingers, then that would be a natural transmission route.
All right, John Clements, thank you very much from Tulane University. When we come back, the bombing continues, a first-hand account of the civilian casualties in one Afghan village.
Okay, good news. That broadband thing we all want? Got it figured out. Honey, you call the phone company. Tracy, you're digging the trench, shovels in the garage. I'm going up on the roof to assess satellite possibilities. Timmy, check out these schematics. Appreciate it. Let's go! Broadband!
We know how you feel, and that's why Circuit City offers one-stop high-speed internet access. You can find what's available where, compare options, and arrange installation. Circuit City, we're with you.
Yeah, we can get broadband at Circuit City.
Imagine if you could just walk right up and put in a new order for high-octane elegance. And imagine if you could get your new order by simply signing by the X.
We're Pfizer. We're looking for a cure for your father's Alzheimer's, your sister's heart condition, your best friend's diabetes. We're spending nearly $5 billion on research this year and have 12,000 scientists and health experts looking for the cures of the future. Why do we work so hard? Because we have fathers, sisters, and best friends too. Pfizer. Life is our life's work.
Coming up.
Osama bin Laden just wants to kill. He's that kind of a guy. Why are so many people in the Middle East agreeing with him?
James Marsters on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
1-800 Mattress is having a giant mattress clearance event. Every famous brand mattress is on sale with extra savings on closeouts, discontinued styles, floor samples, and one-of-a-kind items. Call 1-800-Mattress, click on mattress.com, or visit one of our showrooms today for the very best selections while supplies last. It's our biggest sales event of the year, so don't miss it. 1-800-MATTRES.
Unfortunately, I have seen some economic slowdowns.
We have seen a downturn.
We've let staff go.
We don't have too many customers in the afternoon.
It's a little off. It's a little off.
We are considering it an economic crisis.
Bloomberg created like 8 or 10,000 jobs to begin with in his own company.
I feel safe with a man that knows how to run a business, manage money, talk to people.
I feel a lot safer with a businessman running than a politician.
Michael Bloomberg knows how to make money for the city. Plain and simple.
Few countries are as important to the success of the ongoing U.S. campaign in Afghanistan as neighboring Pakistan. Secretary of State Colin Powell is scheduled to meet Tuesday morning with Pakistan's president after a dinner on Monday. ABC's Martha Raddatz is with us now from Islamabad. Martha, what can you tell us about that dinner meeting with President Musharraf and Secretary Powell?
The dinner lasted about 3 hours. They had one topic last night. They'll talk about several more topics today, but the topic last night was Afghanistan and the future of Afghanistan. Secretary Powell told President Musharraf that he has assigned a special envoy or a special coordinator for Afghanistan to look into what sort of future government there will be in Afghanistan. And also Musharraf was told about UN involvement and what role the UN will play.
Well, Martha, that begs the question then, what kind of Afghanistan exactly does Secretary Powell picture? What kind of a plan is he presenting to President Musharraf?
You know, that's an interesting question, Chris, because we asked Secretary Powell a lot about that on the plane into Islamabad, saying, what do you foresee for the future of Afghanistan? Certainly they want somebody to represent all the people of Afghanistan. But Secretary Powell at one point said, look, I don't know. I can't see the future. And if you think about it, this is such an extraordinary time for foreign policy. Foreign policy has been turned on its head. They are dealing with this day by day. You know, the enemies that used to be friends, or the friends that used to be enemies of the United States. This is all changing minute to minute, and they're dealing with it. They're trying to deal with it, not only in a tactical way, but a strategic way, and as Secretary Powell said, see into the future. And they really can't do that at this point, although they are working on it constantly.
Martha Raddatz in Islamabad, thank you very much. At the Pentagon this afternoon, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had one word to describe Taliban claims that the U.S. had killed hundreds of civilians after strikes on the Afghan village of Khoram. Ridiculous.
We know of certain knowledge that the Taliban leadership and al-Qaeda are accomplished liars, that they go on television and they say things that we know are absolutely not true. We know they are taking journalists, to the extent there are journalists in the area, into areas that they want to take them and not into areas that they want to go. Now, Do we have pretty good information about where the weaponry that's being fired is going? You bet we do. Do we have perfect knowledge from the ground? Of course we don't.
It was by ground that reporters were taken over the weekend by Taliban officials for a first-hand inspection of the village. ABC's Ron Claiborne reports from Islamabad.
The foreign journalist crossed into Afghanistan late Saturday as heavily armed Taliban militiamen stood by. Among them was Rahim Ullah, a respected veteran Pakistani journalist. On Sunday, Taliban escorts took the group to Koram, a village high in the rugged mountains west of Jalalabad. There they were met by an irate crowd.
When we arrived, the people came with spades and with sticks, and they wanted to attack all the foreign journalists.
The Taliban says Koram, what used to be Koram, was obliterated by U.S. bombs a few days earlier.
The whole village was destroyed. Not a single house was intact. And people were busy with spades and shovels trying to remove the debris to find out any bodies still buried there.
The Taliban says as many as 200 people were killed. Rahim Ullah says, based on the number of destroyed homes and fresh graves that he saw, a more accurate figure may be half that number. He was told there were only 6 survivors. Rahim Ullah says local people insisted there were no military installations or training camps in the area. From Koram, the group was taken to a hospital in Jalalabad to see the wounded. It was a scene that Rahim Ullah describes as heartrending.
A 3-year-old girl, Rahmat Bibi, she was lying there. She had lost her parents and she was crying. She was saying, I want to go to my mother. Then we saw this sister and brother. Sister was 1 year old. She was in very bad condition. Doctors felt she may not survive. And then there was a man lying in a bed. He had lost almost 8 members of his family.
Everywhere the journalists were taken, Rahim Ullah says there was a mood of defiance, a mood of deep anger.
I saw so much of anger and hatred towards the U.S. I was surprised. I could see it in their eyes, especially in the village which was bombed. There was hatred towards America, towards the West, and also there was strong criticism of the Pakistan government for cooperating with the U.S.
Some people blamed Osama bin Laden for what was happening to them, what was happening to their country.
There were some people who were also not happy with Mr. bin Laden, saying that, because of him we are suffering in Afghanistan. He should leave. Most of the people to whom we spoke, they thought that it's wrong to punish the whole country, to punish the Afghan people for the sins of one person. And they did not believe that Mr. bin Laden was a terrorist or that he was involved in these attacks in the U.S.
In Jalalabad, despite daily bombardment, despite the presence of gun-toting Taliban soldiers almost everywhere, Rahim Ullah said daily life seemed somehow almost normal.
Most of the shops were open. They were full of everything. There was some price hike and food was abundantly available, fuel was available, the traffic police was in place. So in a way, life was normal.
He said some people had come to view the raids almost as a form of entertainment.
We were surprised. Whenever there was an attack by the U.S. aircraft, people would come out on the street. They would come out of their houses and shops and start looking at the skies. And then they would pinpoint the aircraft or the anti-aircraft fire, And for them it was like some spectacle, as if they were enjoying it.
Rahim Ullah says Afghans follow the news avidly on radio. They know that the American president has declared war against terrorism, not Islam. He says few believe him. This is Ron Claiborne for Nightline in Islamabad.
I'll be right back.
To receive a daily email about each evening's Nightline and a preview of special broadcasts, log on to the Nightline page at abcnews.com.
You've all read this. Top shelf consultants. $2 million. Pure strategic thinking could put us years ahead. The board is psyched. I'm psyched. It's a brilliant plan. One question. Given our current technology, is this implementable?
No.
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 Strategies you can actually execute?
No.
Now there's a plan.
Still psyched?
Reinvented Camry. Trust us, you're going to want one.
When a story resonates on a personal level, I'm not really concerned about holding back. I'm more concerned about telling the story. And if I get like choked up, which I do sometimes, or if there is an emotion that really comes through that's real, so be it. It's just out there. Our audience, any audience, appreciates honesty, realness.
I'm Neil Padron, president, with aquarium power filters from Hagen.
Hagen's complete line of aquarium filtration will purify the water in your aquarium to provide a longer and healthier life for your fish. Hagen has the ultimate filter that's right for your aquarium and budget.
Come to Petland Discounts for the Hagen line of fine aquarium filtration.
Live lottery, easy as ABC. Hey, Cat, the only place to see the New York State Lottery drawing live is right here on ABC 7. Watch Wheel Daddy-O weeknights for Win 4 numbers, the daily picks, and the numbers game. Catch Take 5 on Eyewitness News at 11 every single night of the week. Take the live lotto drawing on Eyewitness News at 11 every Wednesday and Saturday. Live lottery, as easy as ABC. 7. Yeah.
The latest developments on the anthrax cases, including the one here at ABC, and an interview with Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle tomorrow on Good Morning America. That's our report for tonight. I'm Chris Bury in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
You can order a transcript or video cassette of this or any other Nightline broadcast by dialing 1-800-CALL-ABC.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tony Kornheiser, Michael Wilbon. Pardon the interruption. 5:30 p.m. Eastern, weekdays on ESPN. Preview Wednesday at 7:30.
It's not pretty.
BTI.
Sometimes the toughest trials a lawyer faces are the ones outside of the courtroom.
It looks like my ex-wife was harboring a fugitive.
Charge me. Philly, ABC Tuesday at 10/9 Central.
This is the SR-71 Blackbird. There's nothing like it. It's the world's fastest airplane.
DeVry graduate Ross James Cooper is a flight test engineer for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Elite Skunk Works. He designs and implements instrumentation on planes like the Blackbird, Our Eyes in the Sky. DeVry's hands-on experience and rock-solid technical background let Ross lock on to a future with wings.
I get paid well for my DeVry education.
Call 1-800-DeVry-11 for a higher degree of success.
Jim, you love me, right?
Of course.
More than that furry green chair.
Yeah! Say, Jim, about the furry green chair. Set it free. Pier 1, set the table. Feel the love. Trendy, romantic. Trendy, romantic.
Hurry in and save 20 to 40% during our bedroom sale.
Purple sage.
The one-of-a-kind experience of Pier 1.
It's working.
Jim's not a bad man. He just had bad taste.
Get in touch with your senses.
Each Valpak envelope contains great savings you can use every day, like karate studios, dance classes, beauty salons, auto services, carpet cleaning, restaurants, eyeglasses, all kinds of entertainment, and chiropractors. Valpak, there's something in it for you.
To advertise, call 1-800-550-5025.
Lou Rawls and Daryl Hannah next live.